Okay, so we'll do part two here of your urban design lesson. This is where we left off part one with this quote from your textbook, looking at this question of who are you designing your urban area for? And this has two components for you for this class. One is this idea that it's not an exact science and that there's always this element of personal taste. So I want you to put your preferences, your style, your kind of personal vision of what you want in your neighborhood, in your city design, in your districts. Um, so that's one. It's kind of like your preferences, your personal style. And then the second part is to remember this question of social justice, particularly those of you who think you might want to be advocacy planners. This idea that if different types of population were to plan the city, it would look differently. And then there's a lot of good questions of social justice in there. So hopefully we can address some of those in a really equitable way. So let's move on a little bit, talking about neighborhoods. This is mostly probably what you guys need to think about when you're planning your city is this idea of the neighborhood. We talked a little bit in class about TND, traditional neighborhood development. Um, but neighborhoods, I mean, cities are composed of neighborhoods, right? So really the way to think about this, structure to provide conveniently and safely what most people need in their daily lives. So what do you want in your neighborhood? School, shopping, grocery stores, playgrounds, museums, I don't know, whatever you want, right? It's up to you. You kind of make a list of the elements of what you think are elements that you want to see in your neighborhood at the neighborhood level. Also, we're going to check out Clarence Perry, kind of in the 1920s. He made some examples of neighborhood design. I'll show you a picture of it in just a minute. And he wanted to design something the population enough to supply one elementary school. So let's take a look at what this looks like. This is what it looks like. The neighborhood unit formula. This is an example you can see. You can also keep this in mind when you have to design a visual for your final project. So he spells out here on the top like development. He says preferably 160 acres. This idea I think about like the size and the size of the population and the size of the land. House enough for one elementary school. And he says the exact shape of it is not important, but really you want everything kind of equidistant from the center. So this idea of having a neighborhood center, which I definitely want you guys to think about what you want at the center of your neighborhood, or the center of your town, the center of your district, like what's the focal point, the center of it. So, and then like a kind of a circle around it, or a general radius around the center. And so, he says only neighborhood institutions at the community center. You can see how he's got like the main highways and streets on the outside. And then kind of like these smaller streets on the inside of the grid, the inside of the circle, so that it provides easy access to the shopping area, to the neighborhood center, to the schools. He's got a church up there, but he says, you can have a church, you can have a shopping district. Like I said, it's kind of whatever elements you want. He wanted these shops next to the traffic like junctions, like these traffic intersections. It's like he thinks that's the appropriate place to put the shopping. And then he's got a little rule here. He says 10% of the area to recreation and park space. So this is an example, you know, you guys are kind of looking at a design. Think about how you might want to adapt your design off of something like this. Like maybe you want, okay, recreation space is really important to you. So you might want more than 10% of area to recreation and park space. You know, you might want an education center as the community center. You might want a workforce development type thing at the center. So I'm really curious to see what you guys pick as your neighborhood center for your projects. Okay, we need to talk about new urbanism. This is this is what is talked about in urban planning, particularly in urban design right now. It's a hot topic. New urbanism, you're going to explore it a little bit on your own. We're talking about it in class. I'm really just right here going to give you kind of like some things about like new urbanists, what they don't like. Okay, what they wouldn't like is places that are overly dependent on the automobile, where you've got to have a car to be there. They don't like that. They don't like where traffic and parking goals took precedence over designing for people and walkable environments. So they don't, that's something they don't like. Or if you're planning for the car, your goal that you're trying to reach is we need more parking to make it convenient for people, and we need to ease traffic congestion, so we're going to design the city for that. They think that those goals being more important than designing for people, designing for places you can walk, would be wrong in the eyes of new urbanism. So they don't like this excessive separation of land uses, where the distance between the uses is too great. So they don't want your apartments completely separate from your houses, completely separate from your shopping mall, completely separate from your school, with a lot of distance in between them. They would not like that. And if you've got these large parking lots between the buildings and the streets, they hate that. So, I mean, really, think of like your mall with a huge parking lot around it. They do not like that. Um, so that's what new urbanism doesn't like. Okay, so what do they like? New urbanists, it's also called neo-traditionalists. I know these big words are confusing sometimes, but it's this idea of traditional. It's almost like going back to traditional Main Street USA type stuff. Here would be this sketch. Here would be like a sketch of what new urbanism might look like. They want a clearly articulated design philosophy. This is not sprawl. This is really a whole design concept that is really clearly spelled out. And it's almost has to do with this idea of replanning suburbs. Like they don't really like the way suburbs are laid out. But it could be this idea of replanning them so that they're, instead of planning them for the cars, you would plan them more for the people, for the pedestrians. And it might look something like this. And so some things that they do like, just more specific examples, a building where you've got apartments over the stores, right? You got like the store on the bottom floor and apartments on top. They would love that. If you have houses where you're allowed to take your garage and turn it into an apartment, urbanists would definitely like that. They would like your design to have 2 lanes of traffic, like think of your downtown street, like in that picture I just showed you, and you've got a lane for parked cars, and then a sidewalk, and then a building. Okay, so visualize this. You've got your lane of traffic for cars. Right next to it, like just to the right of you, you've got your lane for cars can park. Then you got your sidewalk, and then you have the building. They would like that design. They want the buildings to be close to the street and for the parking to be in the back. So that's what they like. It's not so it's like your street. It's not your shopping mall, right, with a huge parking lot around it. It's buildings that are pretty close to the street, and you have to park in the back. They would actually like alleyways. Why? Because you can park in the back of alleyways. So this idea of parking, instead of taking big swaths of land to build parking, they want you to like park on the street in front, or even better, to kind of have to park in an alleyway behind the building. And they like fairly small lot sizes. This isn't going to be a design that has these huge lot sizes. So that's just a couple of things that if you're doing a new urbanist design, these are some things they would like. There are critics of new urbanism. This is not a complete, wonderful, exact thing. Most of what the critics say is that this tends to be elitist. There are communities that have been built as new urban communities with new urbanist design principles. They say they're elitist. They say they're expensive, like Seaside, Florida, Celebration. Celebration is Disney World, little city. They're elitist, they say they're expensive, and critics say that this doesn't actually do anything to help central cities. So our problem of our traditional cities, our central cities in decline, this is like less infill development to kind of help revitalize central cities. This would be more of a separate area that's built and planned, but using new urbanism concepts. So those are some of the things the critics say, and you guys will read a little bit more about it. It's a really short article I have posted for you. It's called The Neighborhood, the District, and the Corridor, and these are kind of your main elements to think about in your urban design. Your neighborhoods, how do you want those to look? This is the place where you live and play. It's got your day-to-day stuff that you need. Then you want to think about having districts. These would be emphasize a special single use, your shopping district, your business district, your theater and arts district, your restaurant district, whatever kind of district you want, your education district. I know one of you wants to do that. Whatever kind of special use you want, think about what kind of districts. And then the corridors are really going to be how you connect these. The public transportation, the corridors, the streets, even these regional connectors of your neighborhoods and districts. So I believe that is it for now. And I hope you guys have fun learning about urban design and doing your own urban designs.